I'm here today in Tucson, Arizona with Dr. Jeannee Yermakoff. Dr. Yermakoff, could you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
I have a PhD in pharmacology and toxicology, and I know that sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but really all it's telling you is that it's the study of how chemicals interact with both ourselves and the environment that we live in. And I got into science early on because I was interested in the environment, but I must say one of the bonuses I've found of being a scientist is that it has taught me how to think differently and look at the world and analyze things in a different way.
We'd like to talk a little bit about genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, specifically their safety. Could you tell us whether you think GMOs are safe and how you reached that position?
In short, yes, for a couple of reasons, I think that GMOs are safe to consume and have in our environment. The first reason is that they are, in the broadest sense, a type of a hybrid. And hybrids have been part of our environment and part of our diet for a very long time. And the second reason is they've been around now for over 20 years. Billions of acres have been produced of genetically modified crops and consumed in the U.S., Asia, and South America, and there is no good solid evidence at this point that says that it is causing us any harm. So let me go into a little bit of detail about those two reasons. First, the fact that GMOs are really a type of hybrid. Hybrids have been around forever. They are, let's take a plant, for example. You have two plants that grow next to each other, and the offspring of that plant sometimes will turn out to be a hybrid of the two parent plants. Now, that's been going on for a very, very long time. An example is wheat. Wheat is a hybrid of two different plants. Well, we just think of it as wheat. It's been around for a long time. More recently, like in the last few thousand years, man has made an effort to nudge those hybrids along, farmers and agricultural scientists. And a good example is something you might find on your breakfast table every day, a grapefruit. A grapefruit's actually a hybrid of a fruit called a pomelo and an orange. And the combination of those two take something like a pomelo that's not a really good fruit to eat and turn it into, the offspring becomes a grapefruit, which was such a desired fruit that it has been around now for ages and ages. And the third kind of hybrid is now what we see in our modern era, which is genetically modified organisms. And the biggest differences in those hybrids are really twofold. One is the method for producing them. You don't just randomly put some plants next to each other and wait and see what happens. You take genetic material from one organism and carefully place it into that other organism. And the second reason is that the methods, of course, are very different. They're very high technology micro methods that are used inside a laboratory instead of just letting nature take its way outdoors. But you can see that these are actually a spectrum of combinations of genetic material. Whether you're talking about wheat as an ancient hybrid that occurred by accident in nature, or whether you're talking about something like genetically modified corn that has a very specific difference that man or scientists have introduced into that crop.
Very interesting. Could you tell us, please, as a scientist, how do you evaluate the evidence regarding the safety of GMOs?
All right, well, let's take a broader step beyond GMOs, and I'll answer the question of how do scientists look at things differently? And I'm going to use 4 examples of how scientists will look at things differently. One is that a good scientist, will keep an open mind. So we could look at somebody like Galileo in the 1600s. He decided that, in fact, contrary to popular opinion, the earth revolves around the sun. Well, religious scholars and the public did not like that answer. So Galileo ended up in house imprisonment for the rest of his life for coming up with something that was in fact true and scientifically based, but it was against popular opinion. But he had an open mind and he was willing to stick by that opinion. Let's hope these days scientists don't get punished for a wrong view, but it just goes to show you the importance of looking at the facts and not looking at popular opinion. So that's one. The second thing is a really good scientist looks at both sides of the issue. If you're evaluating GMOs, the way to get good information is not just to look at information that supports your opinion, such as if you happen to think, well, most likely GMOs are not harmful, you don't just look at information that tells you that GMOs are not harmful. You look at what the other side thinks, and in reality, most of the time, the truth will be somewhere in between those two. So the third thing a scientist needs to do to come up with a good, solid conclusion is look at the quality of their sources. So let's say you look something up using Google. I like to call him Mr. Google. So you ask Mr. Google, is dimethyl good stuff good for you? And you come up with a website that says, yeah, dimethyl good stuff is really good for you. But it turns out that the person that wrote that website is actually selling dimethyl good stuff. So that probably means that that person does not have an objective opinion. You'd be much better off looking at a resource that came from a scientific organization or a government organization that doesn't have a bias, a reason to bias their judgment about the information. And then finally, and probably most important thing that a scientist will do is they will look at what's called weight of the evidence. If somebody's investigating an issue like the safety of GMOs, they don't just look at one study that might show that GMOs are harmful or not harmful. They'll look at, let's say, 100 studies, or read information from somebody who took the time to evaluate 100 studies. And if, for example, 95 of those 100 studies have shown us that GMOs are not harmful, then it probably means that that's the weight of the evidence, and that is the conclusion we should be leaning towards. So, in summary, a scientist takes a much closer and much more objective look at the information. And for GMOs specifically, one of the reasons that I think they are not harmful, besides the fact that they are a type of hybrid that's been around forever, is according to that weight of evidence that many scientists have looked at. And among those are the fact that they have been in our diet and in our environment now through most of the world for 20 years. And despite hard looks at GMOs, the evidence is that they are not harmful. Now, all that said, as we go forward, this is still a new technology, and it is important as scientists that we continue to look at these on a case-by-case basis as they're introduced in our environment. And as you grow older and become scientists, I'm sure you will have the opportunity to do that, because I think GMOs will be with us for a long time. Thanks very much for your time.